title. I would not read it out, but Jana will tell it herself. And I also want to refer to the next week when David will have the last appearance here at the CAIS next week on Wednesday. And unfortunately, we will not have any celebration to say goodbye for the reasons we all know. And the reasons are getting stronger again, more and more. It's getting worse again in Germany. So you're leaving right exact time, David. You could not do better than leaving as fast as you could before the problems are rising more and more. Okay, Jana, I think we have nothing to discuss organizational or so. Everything is clear, everything is nice. So Jana can start her presentation. Jana, please.
Yeah, thank you. Just share my screen. Can you see the slide?
Yes, all very good.
Yeah, so let me just set the time. Okay, thank you. Thank you all for joining CAIS Colloquium today. I'm very glad to be part of CAIS Fellows team and excited to the opportunity of researching in an excellent Center for Advanced Internet Studies. So my project is entitled Computer Vision Networks, and it aims to develop digital visual methods for research purposes. So I hope I do not disappoint you today. So please consider that I'll be presenting the initial phase of the project and its, let's say, non-conventional proposal to study images with computer vision and through networks. So all feedback and suggestions for improvement are more than welcome. So, just a minute, okay. And precisely because the project presents a fresh approach, I thought it might be good to start with situating my research proposal, and then after this present aims, research questions, theories and methods. And also now following Kai's suggestion, I'd like to start briefly by introducing myself. So I'm in the final year of my doctoral studies in digital media at Nova University of Lisbon, and the date of my defense is still to be scheduled. I'm also a teaching assistant in digital methods, and my thesis is about digital methods and technicity of the mediums, and it reflects like 7 years of experience in practicing digital methods. My PhD asks what it's like to design and implement research with a digital methods approach. To what extent can digital methods be considered a type of fieldwork? And why the notion of technicity matters for digital research, and how does technicity concretely contribute to it? So I think this overview about my doctoral studies pretty much express my research interests, and I care about digital platforms, web-based applications, and software functioning and potentials for methodological innovation. And also in 2016, I created the Smart Data Sprint and the Smart Group in Innova Media Lab of Nova University of Lisbon. And since then, we are providing an environment that reunites people with different backgrounds and expertises to respond to specific research questions in a short period of time and collectively achieve concrete outputs. So it is indeed an opportunity to learn by doing, and these also represents a lot of what I do as a researcher. So I'm also proud of leading this BABE initiative, which is 5 years old and already taken as international reference. And I'm so thankful to work with so talented people from all collaborators to this, the incredible SMART team. So now I hope that these emojis can help me with the task of sharing some personal information. I'm not so good in doing that. So I am a coffee person who likes croissant and long talks. I do appreciate a good Portuguese wine, and I cannot resist to a glass of champagne, especially in good company. I really miss the days I used to ride my bike to work. I played basketball for years, and actually I stopped last year, and I am fascinated with circus activity, and in particular aerial silks. I love what I do, and I hate onions. So you can reach me at both emails that I'm sharing in this screen. And if feel free also to visit my research blogs, because there I share a lot about what I do and my research. So what I want to do before presenting my project is to introduce to you the potentials of computer vision APIs, while providing a brief explanation about the digital methods approach, and closing this part with examples of digital networks, with some examples of what the types of the digital networks I am referring to. So starting with like a definition of computer vision, which is the computer's capacity to learn the visual features of images and videos, using these learnings to identify and classify objects and scenes. So computer vision uses mathematical and algorithmic techniques to do that. So in this picture, you can see some examples of computer vision algorithms and applications. Face detection algorithms on the left, and object instance segmentation to delineate each person and object in a complex scene on the right. So starting I need to pass. So also through computer vision, it is also possible to, for instance, capture the path of the players during a match, detect not safe for work content. So according to Imaga here, this image is almost 90% considered not safe for work. Demographics, so you can see here, Clarify says correctly that my gender appearance is feminine, and the probability of my age in appearance is that I am 27. I doubt, but okay. I like this probability. And note that the classification of the images are always accompanied by high or low scores that would inform the probability of each image, object, or scene's predictions. And as I like to refer to, like descriptions or what is in the image. And this alluvial diagram shows a map of the main visions APIs in the web environment, the year of launch, their respective services, and also informing what are the shared services. And note that this visualization version is from July 2020, so it is still to be updated. But as you can see, image classification, content moderation, face detection, and visual search are the most common features among these services. And my project aims to give attention, and special attention, to Google services, right? I am focusing on two features that would detect labels and detect web entities and pages. And these features allows us to, let's say, analyze descriptive and dynamic networks of images, in a way assisting visual content-oriented research in an innovative manner, let's say. And this screenshot help us to understand what these features do. So this is a data set related to the outbreak of microcephaly in Brazil. And we see the Google Vision outputs. So efforts to describe the mosquito and the babe images, So you can see columns, label, and web entities, and efforts to inform the pages in which these images have appeared in or were hosted by. So image description can be based on predefined labels afforded by machine learning algorithms. For example, the descriptions of face, chin, forehead, or these taggings results correspond with where the image is used on websites, combining descriptive information in the title of the image with metadata connected to each page's rank. So for example, Zika virus epidemic, infection. So, and this type of description relates to web entities, and multiple detections are possible in a single image, as you can see. And note also the scores that I mentioned before, low, high and low scores, which is like the probability of prediction, right? Image circulation here, it's not a movement with an order, or it is not moving to and fro. So, but it is something related to the number of the web pages that full match images appear in or are hosted by. So, and again, you can see that multiple detections are possible. That is, for one image, you have multiple URLs can be detected. So such potentialities are those repurposed for research, allowing new ways of seeing and studying our digital life through images and networks. And this is when the digital methods approach appears and helps. So as a particular form of research practice, the digital methods are crucially situated in the technological environment that it explores and exploits. So what makes the difference in digital methods? It's an invitation to first learn from medium specificity, following its logics, forms, and dynamics, and consequently to repurpose what is given by the methods of the internet platforms for social, cultural, and medium research. So under the premise of a medium-specific perspective, let's say that the functional logic of work in digital methods invite researchers to think the subject of study in, with, and through a practical technical research process, right? And to quickly illustrate what it means to repurpose or reimagine a collection of images with computer visions and networks, I want to share with you the case of Portuguese universities on Facebook. So what you see there, it's more than 22,000 images, timeline images published by 15 Portuguese universities' Facebook pages between each page created time until 2018. So, and this is how computer vision networks may look like. So the images there are clustered by the recurrence of labels that are used to classify images. So the analysis has shown that the dominant visuality corresponds to what we called Portugal sentado, Portugal while seated, and also posters. So Portugal sentado is named after a Portuguese journalist expression that relates to the bad habit of publishing photos of people seated in press conferences. And this is what's the main visuality described by Portuguese universities on Facebook in a historical perspective. Posters depict here all sorts of written content. Screenshot of news, institutional news letter, banners to promote events. And in this tree map, you see all clusters detected in the previous networks, like describing what the universities used to share on Facebook. So there are also like people in academic events, school buildings, headshot pictures, sports, musical performance as the typical imagery shared by the higher education in Portugal on Facebook. And now this network grid allows us to see the reality of each university in terms of imagery. So for instance, by looking at color density or the presence or absence of color, we found out that the University of Açores, first line, does not invest in poster type publications, while Isquite, third line, it's not into publishing photos of people seated in press conferences, which contradicts the remaining majority of the universities. So I think the example of Portuguese universities demonstrates which type of networks I am referring to. So this project takes digital networks as captured by digital data and platform grammatization, right? So as defined by Venturini and colleagues, digital networks actually represent a fusion, but also a confusion of meanings, of concepts, because at the same time, they are a conceptual metaphor, a space for connections, a computational technique, a set of data, and a social technical system. Digital networks are equally captured by platform grammatization, which refers to the technological processes inherent to the web environment and APIs, in which and through which online communication actions and acts are structured, captured, and merged with other records, and yet made available, of course, always very limited, through data retrieval methods such as crawling, scraping, and API calling. So in this understanding, my project proposed to explore and analyze networks created through a collection of online images and reconstructed through Google Vision API. So I'll be looking at, in particular, three types of networks. So networks of images and labels, images and web entities, and images and the sites of circulation across the web. And now, by using this rare PEP meme collection, let me show you some examples of these networks, starting with how very accurate the image description can be, right? So this is a cluster of PEP memes as Pokemons, and we actually see the names of each Pokemon. You can see how precise these method to describe images can be. And here I filtered the Eagle network of the label politics just to verify related memes and descriptions. And it was detected, for instance, like memes related to the president of Russia, to the president of US, and the nuclear program of Iran. Look also the best guess labels and how precise they can be. For instance, tired pep frog, sad pep in bed. So this type of description, it is contextualized by and within the web environment, okay? And but when we look at image annotation by machine learning algorithms and outside the web content, we face more literal description, or what I mean, what is in an image, such as you see like pep memes containing a nose, a nine, a mouth, or images that are detected as cartoon. So last but not least, when we explore and analyze networks of circulation, we face now, like, let's say, a different potentiality, which refers to the web pages in which full match images appeared in or hosted by. So you can see that the memes and the pages in which those memes have appeared. And this type of network allows researchers to detect what images, for example, tend to stick within or flow out of a platform environment. We can also identify images shared by a cluster of web pages, for instance, news media sites, or we can also detect like the same image shared by different web pages. So I hope this introduction has served well the purpose of situating my research proposal, and I'm now glad to share with you the aims, research questions of my project, right? Which again, it is entitled Computer Vision Networks, Developing Digital Visual Methods for Social and Medium Research. So broadly saying, the main objective of this project is to interrogate the potentialities and limitations of vision APIs for research purposes. And I'm going to pay special attention to Google Cloud services. But also the project aims at the development of new forms of technical methodological creation with the digital methods approach. More specifically, I ask what are these potentialities and how they operate in practical terms, which type of research questions can be asked, how to read different types of computer vision networks, and how does this approach concretely facilitate or maybe enhance social and media research. The concrete outputs expected in this project, it's a map of the potentials of computer vision for studying online images. It is also the creation of a method recipe with basis on case studies and in collaboration with research fellows. It is to develop a research software to facilitate the processes of building and interpreting computer vision networks. And this output, it's meant to be in collaboration with Jason Chow. Propose a conceptual methodological research model in collaboration with Tommaso Venturini. So the steps to answer the research questions consider my previous experience and some work done with computer vision networks and to address different research purposes, such as the case study of Portuguese universities and how these pages use Facebook to communicate, hashtag engagement studies, and in particular related to the political polarization in Brazil, bot agency and image circulation on social media, and also a study that compared different vision APIs through the analysis of stock images. So in regard to theory and methods, the approach of this project follows a mechanological perspective on software, which is proposed by Bernard Reader, who draws on the work of the French philosopher Gilbert Simondon to introduce a mode of thinking and capturing the interior life and sociability of engines of order that, in his words, increasingly educate our digital life. So Reader addresses the technicity of software by investigating the long trajectories of algorithmic techniques, for instance, Google's page ranking. And he also asks how an algorithmic technique evolves after it has been introduced. From the standpoint of software making, he gives special attention to the values implied in mechanical operation itself. So asking not properly what programs do, but how they operate. So in this perspective, but in my case, from the standpoint of software using and software practice, and from the standpoint also of the awareness of the technicity, I'll be accounting for and investigating a slice of the technicity of the computational mediums that take part in the design and implementation of the digital methods approach. And to that end, I am considering research software, computer vision APIs as carriers of meaning, and while paying attention to the specific technical elements that matter in the process of building and interpreting computer vision networks. I'm also considering the digital methods approach following Richard Rogers' proposal, and which I previously explained in the beginning of my presentation. And last but not least, I'll be working with visual methodologies focused on networked content and using visual network analysis, which is defined by Venturini, Giacomo, and Yassen as a technique, and I'm quoting them, as a technique applied to explore and analyze digital networks with basis on the heuristic values and unwritten principles of network spatialization. So the video illustrates this exploration and analysis of a network of Instagram image circulator related to the Pantanal fires in Brazil. So here, for instance, the position, size, and color of the nodes matter in an analytical task, and further reflections are also stimulated by a navigational practice itself, as the video demonstrates. And of course, some technical knowledge is crucial in this process. So the project will follow this method protocol to try and test several computer vision networks, aiming at the development of a method recipe that would be used for teaching, and it would also be publicly available. As you see, this method protocol, it's quite complex with 5 stages that involves a range of software or web applications, but also a series of analytical decisions oriented by technical practice that can only be chosen by the researchers involved in the process. So on the left, a detailed descriptions of the stages necessary to curate online images, build, visualize, and analyze the network. And the right side emphasizes the transformations and rearrangements that the images accumulate throughout this process. So in order to propose a valid method recipe and to interrogate the Vision API itself, I am organizing sprints with issue experts, and some of them, they are here in attending the colloquium. Some sprints are already confirmed, such as the study of climate emergency images according to a historical perspective of Google image search results, images related to Tumblr purge, also a temporal perspective, and the study of Portuguese political parties on Facebook, and the other ones is to be confirmed. I'm also trying and testing different data sets, and the knowledge gained from these practical experiences will be used, let's say, as a point of departure to figure out what types of research questions can be asked and how actually we can respond to them. Also, Laura's presentation last week gave me an idea of organizing maybe a sprint with CAIS fellows. So in case you are interested in one of these topics, or we can maybe together figure out a common topic of interest, it would be nice to have your inputs and ideas. Sorry. And I do believe that the sprinting with issue expert is not only about fostering collaboration, but actually a crucial approach to explore and analyze computer vision networks. Because it is through this collaborative environment, the use of big screens, printed networks, the pressure of time, that we may get the most of these complex networks and learning together about what they can provide, and using also our different expertises to do that. And these are the main list of software and links and of open source research tools that I'll be working with. And beyond the visualization of the network itself, I do expect to explore and find new ways of reading visual content, right? So using different types of visualizations, such as B-swarm plots, network grids, bar charts, and then discover new possibilities. I know I am not, maybe over time. So let me, okay. So I'll just quickly pass some preliminary findings slides, which concern some technical knowledge that we should be aware of. For instance, the Vision API and the modes of image labeling, but also its lack of precision in doing that. And also these results, they are reflected in the network spatialization itself. I'm just passing like more fast these slides because of the time. And that is why when we visually interpret the network, right, I think we should never lose sight of what precedes the network visualization, because the content of the network reflects where the images come from, how the network was built, and what it is built upon. So, and to close my presentation, I want to respond to two questions proposed by CAIS in the CAIS Exchange section about if I have plans to future collaborations. Yes, as I shared with you. And I'm really looking forward for all these data sprints and fellows to come and improve this project. My favorite activity so far at CAIS are the breakfast on Tuesday, where we have the opportunity to get to know one another better. And this is only my third week, so I hope soon I can also share with you what is my favorite spot at CAIS. So looking forward to be there. And also I brought some specific topics that I thought that could help me somehow. Of course, I'm looking forward for all questions and suggestions, but let's say, considering what you understand now about computer vision networks, do you think that these networks can serve different research agendas? And if you think so, how do you see that happening? So another question that I'm always like struggling with, which relates to terminology, is that if I should adopt a different expression than image circulation to refer to the different pages in which the same images appear in or are hosted by. Of course, I'd like to hear from you, what do you think is the strengths of this research proposal? But I'm really looking forward for any suggestions for improvement. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna, for presenting us this innovative approach. And I hope we can answer all your questions in the next 15 minutes you have put to us. Yeah, a very interesting and very nice presentation.